If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Hey folks, that was a picture of Shane Pierce on Christmas Eve in 2016. Shane, his fiance, his mom, and her boyfriend were all killed inside their home in Wilson. We're going to be talking a lot about them in the coming weeks. We're going to interview some family and all that, and we'll have more on that later. This is not Sandra. This is Kat Zugby. Did I get it right this time?
You did.
Fantastic. She is the creator, the operator of Fighting Crime and Who's Wanted. This is the second time she's been on the show. She should be getting used to it by now. Tell us, all right, you've helped solve hundreds of crimes, several murders. Keystone swears by you. You know, you've got a lot of, you got a huge following, what, 75,000 Facebook followers. You work with a lot of different agencies. We'll talk later on in the show about Pennsylvania even, right? So this all started with Facebook page, right? Mm-hmm. So there's an example there of what you do. You take what law enforcement puts out and you add to it, and then you put it online for people to see. Mm-hmm. Sheriff Stone told me one time that if he wanted to catch somebody, all he's got to do is tell you, and you'll have them caught within a day or two. All right, so I mean, tell folks again. I know you told us last time you were here, so give us the abbreviated version. How did this Facebook page start?
Okay, so about 9 years ago, I just decided to try to start helping law enforcement. I started with absconders because they were easier to find online, so I started posting absconders, and then I got probation contacted me and was liking what I was doing, so then I had got some people to work with them, so we started catching absconders, and then I started with the sheriff's offices and the PDs in the area, and it just kind of took off from there. So I've been helping them ever since.
All right, so then after the Facebook page, now what year was that? 2012, 2014?
It's 12, I think.
2012. You got a website now.
Right.
There's an example. Let me see what's on there. Yeah, 2 arson cases in 2 hours. This is the kind of stuff that I like that you do. I did a lot of this kind of reporting when I was younger, in my younger days when I had more time. But you take things and put them together.
Right.
So it's more than just there's a lot of Facebook pages out there that just regurgitate things. But I mean you're actually putting some analysis on it, some investigation into it. When did the website start?
So a few years ago, I started a website, and then I kind of let it go. But this one I've had for about 2 years.
Okay.
And
And
I think it's a better way to kind of for the people who don't have Facebook.
Right. Okay. So when we I wish I didn't have Facebook. I didn't have it for years. I quit in 2011, I think, and then I finally started back up because of this show. But I'm not a big social media guy. All right. So. Although I do like your page, obviously. When I was a reporter, when I got here in 2015, the crime beat at the newspaper basically existed of looking at what you had to say. There's a lot of, believe me, there's a lot of news out there that is basically what's on Fighting Crime for the day. All right, so when Team Cold Case came about last year, after this show started, we wanted a way to monetize this. We wanted a way to have rewards and all that, and Sheriff Stone said right away, well, Fighting Crime already has that apparatus in place. Why don't we use that? So you came on board with that. You operate the hotline that people see the number on the screen.
Right.
The information comes to you, and then you give that straight to law enforcement.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
Right.
Sandra doesn't know what it is.
Right.
Nobody knows what it is except
right.
for you and law enforcement.
Right.
That was the Facebook page for that. Did you? I guess you kind of followed the same pattern, right? You started a Facebook page.
That's right.
And now the Team Cold Case has a website.
Right.
That there's, practically every unsolved case in this area is already on there,
Yep.
right?
All of them are up there.
Very prolific with that stuff.
Yep.
All right, so I kind of addressed this already, but what I like about reading your Facebook page is that you do the fugitive stuff, you do the you now do a lot of the unsolved murders. You were doing all that before, but
right.
for Team Cold Case, you certainly carry the heavy load on the website and the Facebook page. But you tell great crime stories too, and this is one, third cash register stolen in 10 days, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
right.
It's like, I know you put that together.
Right.
And that's, I remember one of the very first stories I ever wrote 20 years ago was some guy was breaking into construction sites and stealing brand new toilet bowls. I think that case is still unsolved to this day, but it was fascinating to me that when I would go through the police reports, it would be 2 toilet bowls stolen. And I was like, what is going on why is this guy stealing toilet bowls? So I see you doing the same kind of stuff. But you also do real news too, like right here. The city was planning they were going to take the armory over there by Ebenezer Baptist Church,
right.
and they were going to make it into a evidence storage facility.
Right.
The folks in that neighborhood, especially Councilman Walker, didn't like that idea, and
Right.
then the politics of it is another story. But the real story for me here is that nobody would have known about that
Right.
if you hadn't have put that online.
Right. I think transparency is
Yeah.
important for the citizens.
Absolutely. So that's another thing. I think that your when we first started talking right away in 2015, right when I
Right.
got here, and some folks that are no longer at the newspaper, so I'm not asparaging the newspaper at all, disparaging. They were like, "Oh, don't talk to her." But I had heard the same thing about TV people, Sandra, when I first started 20 years ago. Old school newspaper reporters were saying, you know, don't talk to the TV, don't, you know,
Right.
don't associate with TV people, whatever. But I mean, I always got my best stories from TV people, and
Right.
it was weird how I would get the credit for the stories, and they'd be like, oh, well, you know. But the truth was I was getting the best information from them, not the other way around, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, I found it to be the same thing with you. That you, I mean, you know everything, and you're into everything. So it would be ridiculous. And plus, news agencies were already following you. Everything that you did anyway, so it would be silly to pretend that,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
So you have, when we first met and we first began to talk, you started every conversation with, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a journalist, I'm not a journalist.
That's right.
But I mean, I don't think that you should really say that anymore, because you're probably a better journalist than a lot of the journalists I've met. Certainly more energetic and produce a lot more content than some lazy folks that we both know. All right, so moving on. Now that I've said all those great things about you, you know, I mean, the one thing that I've settled on in what I'm doing is unidentified bodies, and I
Right.
say all the time because families worry about missing people if they're worth the damn. Law enforcement are you know, they take care of unsolved murders. They're very jealous of those cases, and you know, they do a good job with that. But something that I feel like kind of gets lost in the cracks is unidentified bodies, and
Right.
especially ones from years ago. I mean, they're much better about it now, but
Right.
you know, in the 70s and 80s, you know, they find a skeleton in the woods, and it probably got about a day's worth of investigation. So you know, you do that all the time. You post and Baby John Nash was one that you've done a lot of work on.
Right.
That's first. That was my introduction to that case, was reading it on Fighting Crime. So you just posted about a unidentified man that is not from North Carolina, but
Had
could
ties.
be. So I mean, yeah, tell people what that means.
So this guy here that was found in Pennsylvania, the DNA genealogy people put a sketch together after they done some DNA on him to show what he kind of looked like. And in their investigation, they figured out that he may have ties to North Carolina and some other areas, and gave a list of names that he could be associated with, and one of them was Nobles. So when I found out that he could be from North Carolina or have ties to North Carolina, I posted the story.
And that is, I'm interrupting you. That's amazing to me that through DNA and genealogy they can find out where someone's from or
Right.
where someone's been.
Right.
Put that back up, Brittany. All right. So that's part of what you posted, right?
Right, that's correct. So he was found in West Manchester Township, and so then the people started, I guess, doing their own research on it, and a lady had come to me and said, this guy from New Jersey that's been missing since 3 years prior to this body being found, he was missing.
This missing man right here.
He is from 2 hours and 7 minutes away from where the body was found. So he kind of did look like,
Yeah, I mean, the
with
photos
his
look a lot
eye,
alike.
with his eye being messed up, because
Right.
there was a picture there's another picture of that guy that's got with his eye
eyes
messed up.
That's right.
So I contacted the West Manchester PD with what I had found out, and sent that
And
to
you
them.
got a reply from him last night, right?
Yeah. So yesterday he the sergeant there contacted back and said that they've already looked at his DNA and it's not a match, and the dental records are not a match. So that puts, it's sad that it doesn't, but it puts other people's mind at ease, thinking, you know, it could be him.
Look at this map right here that you put up. Again, another part of what you do. And I mean, you know, you're showing people, you're giving people a visual, giving people something to look at. There's a map from where the unidentified body was found and where the missing person was.
Right.
So only
So it
about
made
2 hours
sense.
away.
Yeah, it made sense. It could- it very well
could have been him. And I've had a lot of those over the years where everything points to it being the person, but then it's just not.
That's right.
And,
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's heartbreaking in a way, but
But like the one we weren't going to talk about, the girl with the cleft
the one you
palate.
told me not to talk about, now
Right,
you're talking about.
that one was found in Texas, but has ties to North Carolina.
Right. Yeah,
But-
and that forensic genealogy is fantastic.
It
I
is.
met since I started doing Identified, I met a woman who does that. She put everything. She got fascinated with it, and she put everything into teaching herself how to do it and all that.
And you don't have to have a
And-
certification
No,
or any kind of degree or anything
you
to
just
be a
gotta know how to do it.
genealogist,
Yeah,
right?
and she they've already solved one case in Harnett County earlier this year, and they've got several more in the pipeline. So I mean, that is a brand new, fascinating way. Me and Sandra, we talked about the little girl from Northampton County,
Right,
Who
yeah.
how they know that she lived in Florida at one time,
Right.
and I mean
It's unreal.
Yeah, it
Look
really
at the
is.
Faith Hedgepeth case. They've
Yeah.
done a sketch on that guy too. Hopefully, we'll get that guy identified.
Yeah,
one
that is-
of our cold case members, Gwen.
Yes.
She has that's part of her family.
Yeah, that's her cousin.
Right.
That is another fascinating aspect of DNA that they can take. Now they can take blood from a crime scene and develop a suspect sketch
That's right.
that has been pretty accurate in
It has
other
been
cases.
accurate. Yep.
So
Very accurate.
There's a couple of things they don't. Anytime you're doing forensic sketches and stuff like that, you don't know about people's hair. You know,
Right.
you don't really know what kind of hairstyle someone might have.
Right.
So you kind of have to guess.
Their
I like
color
the ones that
eyes
have
and-
sketches that have 2 or 3 hairstyles.
right,
You know,
yeah.
but you're right. You look at the eyes and the nose on someone never really change.
Right.
All right, so the important thing that this case from Pennsylvania didn't pan out that it was this guy, but to me the important thing is the process.
Right.
And you're doing exactly what they've asked people to do, and this is a way everybody can help at home watching this on TV or the internet or the YouTubes. They can go to your Facebook page. They can share the posts, right? They can consider transferring DNA to the family tree. That can help people build out a family tree and then upload.
I
Gen Com,
had
guess,
really
what
never
they're doing.
been. I never really been a big fan of submitting my DNA to one of those ancestry things, but now
my
it's
wild
like,
days in the Navy, I don't really want the authorities to have my DNA either.
Right.
But it is fascinating. Where I just saw last night, I just read the news last night that 2 of the people on that show, Friends, are actually 11th cousins.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I might change my mind. I
yeah,
might want
that's
to
how.
do it now.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works. Is
That's
that
right.
they look at all this stuff and they find out, like, that's how they caught the Golden State Killer.
That's exactly how they caught that.
They figured out that he had family. I think it was in Florida.
They backtracked the
everything
tree
happened
down,
in Florida,
yeah.
and then they narrow it down and narrow
That's
it down,
right.
and then they start looking at
It's unreal.
family trees, and if they've got a suspect that's in that family tree, then it.
That's right.
That,
So all
'cause
the
he was a
suspects out there, you
he
need
was
to
a
watch
suspect
out.
40 years ago or whatever,
right.
and then right. All right, folks, we got to go to the commercial. We will be right back in a minute. Thanks for hanging in.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Welcome back to the K-Files. I'm Lindell. This is Kat from Fighting Crime. I did not mention our sponsors at the top of the show, which was a big mistake. I want to thank Statewide Insurers Group. They've been with us since the beginning. They're great folks. If you need insurance, that's who to talk to. And then a different kind of insurance is Barnes Safety and Consultant. They can get you your carry concealed permit, and there's no better insurance than packing heat. Now, there is a law right now that's going to change to where sheriffs will no longer have to sign off on gun purchases, but you still have to have a permit to carry a concealed weapon, which means you still have to go through classes. So if you're going to go through classes, you should go through law enforcement.
Do you have yours?
Teaching it. I do have mine.
I have mine too.
Yes. I went through the Spring Hope offered a free class to its residents a while
awesome.
back,
That's
and
great.
I think they just did one last weekend, another one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm poor. I had to go that route. All right, folks, we're going to talk about, speaking of laws, last year, let me scroll my notes here. I forgot to print my notes out. Last year, they tried to make it to where autopsies were not public record.
That's right.
And we both had a big problem with that, because a lot of what we both do is based on autopsies. And the thing about that is, I talked to a couple different sheriffs, and they didn't like that either. I mean, you would think that they would, but they didn't. And one of the reasons, an autopsy is a independent way to find out information, an independent way to verify what you're being told by other authorities is true. And so if you place that autopsy underneath the auspice of the investigating agency, then you've just closed the transparency loop.
That's right.
Bad, right?
That's
so we got another one that has snuck through the Senate. Every state senator but one, a guy named Perry in Kinston. So thumbs up to this guy. Every state senator voted for this. I don't understand why, but here's what it is. We're talking about Senate Bill 660, right? There's the thing. Senate Bill 660, regulate dissemination of booking photograph, right? That's what this bill is. Senate Bill 660. It's passed the Senate, and the House will take it up next time they convene. So what this bill is it was designed to fight mugshot magazines. Now, mugshot magazines, I've known a few people in the business. Sometimes they're shady, sometimes they're not, but they do provide a public service. And I've written for mugshot magazines before, and I'll tell you this, the thing about those publications is they don't follow the same politics that a newspaper does. So I've had stories that newspapers would not print. I got a particular story about an unsolved murder in the eastern part of the state that the newspapers there would not print because of local political pressure. But the mugshot magazines put it out. So, we talked earlier about your different take on journalism, right? Mugshot magazine's the same thing. It's just different, right? Now, newspaper websites used to have their own mugshot databases, and I think there was some political pressure there was some political correctness there, and then there was just a genuine concern that mugshots do often, they show certain parts of the population more than others, so newspapers quit having their own mugshot databases
Right.
a couple years ago,
Right.
last year, whenever it was. All right, so the industry is already self-correcting itself. Wow, that was an Austin Powers type terminology. So, I mean, newspapers are already, they're taking care of it. There have been laws in other states. And the real problem here, folks, is that with a mugshot magazine, you put someone's mugshot shows up in the database. That person call the mugshot magazine and say, look, take my picture down, and they'll say, okay, we'll do it for $200, right? So that's what the legislation is trying to stop.
So they're making money off of that.
Right, they're making money off of that, and they're trying to. The legislation's trying to stop that, which I don't really like that either. But the thing is that buried inside of this legislation, that no one is even looking at, that would affect what you do, and would affect what I do, and would affect what every newspaper in North Carolina does. And it would also affect sheriff's office and police departments, and I don't think any of them's really thought that through yet, right?
It's a lot of extra work, too.
A lot of extra work, and it's sad that I have to be the voice of reason here. I mean, it's really sad that no one's paying attention to this. And what we're talking about is buried in the bill is this line right here about booking photos not being public record. All right, so I'm going to read that. All right, this is, it says, not a public record. A booking photograph is not a public record as defined by North Carolina General Statute 132. It is right now a public record, folks. A booking photograph, a mugshot, you can ask for anybody's mugshot and they will happily give it to you because that's the law. This law, if it passes the House, will go into effect immediately October 1st. When we'll say that mugshots are no longer public record. Brittany, put that up. I can read the other sentence. I want folks to see. There we go. All right. A law enforcement agency is prohibited from providing a copy of a booking photograph of a defendant pre-trial in any format except for as provided in subsection whatever. So basically, when law enforcement sends out a press release, right, under this new law, if they make a traffic interdiction stop up on the highway, and a guy's got 27 machine guns in his trunk and 1,000 pounds of heroin, and they put out a press release, they can put out the photo of the machine guns, I forgot how many there were in this case, and the heroin, but they will no longer be able to put out the person's mugshot.
Right.
If there's a murder in your neighborhood, right, and they arrest someone for killing 3 women, they'll no longer be able to issue that mugshot. I don't think anybody knows this. I don't think anybody's paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And then, like you said about the hard work, a newspaper or anybody, yourself, anybody that wants a mugshot, they will have to file a request with the arresting agent or the holder of the mugshot, usually sheriff's office because they run the jail. They'll have to file a request with the sheriff's office spelling out a bunch of stuff. They'll have to know when the crime was committed and where it was committed, who the person is in the photograph. I mean, a lot of times we don't know all that information.
Right.
And then we have to sign an affidavit, and it can't be a blanket affidavit. I talked to a law enforcement guy yesterday or the day before, and he's like, well, can it be a blanket affidavit? Not according to this law. It has to, every time you want a mugshot, a newspaper will have to fill out an affidavit saying that they won't use this mugshot on a Mugshot magazine website.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, what happens if there's a murder at 5 o'clock on Friday?
Right.
And you know, I mean,
Why won't they just not provide it to Mugshot magazines and then everybody else can get
exactly. So if you got a murder at 5 o'clock on a Friday, and then you want to get the mugshot, you got to fill out all that paperwork. I mean, from what I can understand, it says, it says signed affidavit. So you're gonna have to carry it down there, or fill it out and scan it, and then all this extra hoops to jump through to get something that's been a public record since day one,
Right.
since the beginning of Mugshots. They've been public
Right.
record, and they want to now all of a sudden they want to change the law to limit public records.
In the
Anytime,
Wild West days, I mean, there were
yeah,
mugshots posted everywhere.
exactly. I mean, that any time that someone changes a law to limit public records, that's not a good thing.
Right.
And I know that there's some people that are probably meant well by this and thought, two things. They thought, well, we're combating mugshot magazines, and then they also, the idea that certain parts of the population are poorly represented in mugshots. I mean, that is what it is. The bad part of this. Now, if there's a fugitive, now where it says, there's certain
Right.
exemptions to this, law enforcement can send out a mugshot if they're looking for somebody, right, under this new law. So, like, if they've got a guy that's got a mugshot and they're looking for him, they can issue his mugshot. But it's silly because if they're looking for a guy on Monday, they can issue a press statement saying, we're looking for this person, here's his mugshot. If they arrest him on Tuesday and they issue a press statement saying, we arrested this fella for murdering 8 women, but they can't issue his mugshot.
That's unreal.
And I know in America we got the presumption of innocence, right? No problem with that. But the thing is that if this logic runs its course and the public can't see a mugshot without all of this hoopla, then how long before someone says, well, you shouldn't put their name in print because they haven't been adjudicated, so that's not fair.
Right.
I mean, maybe it ain't fair, but it's the way it is. And just how long before all of a sudden we got to sign an affidavit to get someone's name who committed a crime?
That's unreal.
I mean, it is unreal. And like you said earlier, I think I'm doing all the talking here. I apologize about that. There are ways to fix the mugshot magazine situation without doing this. Kentucky and some other states have laws on the books, new laws on the books, that say that if you can't extort someone for their mugshot. So
Right.
if someone has been found not guilty or charges are dropped or something, and they contact the mugshot magazine and say, hey, take my picture down,
Right.
they have different states have different time periods, but they have to take the picture down.
Right.
And if you don't, then the fines start adding up.
Right. That's what they should do here.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need to make booking photos not public record.
Yeah,
I mean, they tried it
if
with
somebody
go ahead.
if somebody asked me to take a photo down after they've been found not guilty, I'll go back. I don't care if it's 10 years ago. I'll take it down. I think that's just respect. But I don't have time to go through every single case to make sure to see if somebody was found guilty or not guilty and go back and take pictures. But if somebody comes to me and cordially asks me, I'll take it down.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody would. I mean, I especially. I mean, mugshot magazines are not what they were 10 years ago.
And I wouldn't charge $200 there. It would be
Yeah,
zero.
right. So a lot of the mugshot magazines aren't charging anymore either because of this. They
Right.
see this now, so they see what's coming, so they've amended their ways. But an example. And this is kind of an interesting story too. So last week we talked about a case that you've publicized a lot, and that's the unsolved murder of Mr. Avent. Was driving his car and got
Right,
shot, right? And Lieutenant Seifman was here, and we talked about it. Well, after we went off the air, Fred the weatherman he's a retired school teacher. Now apparently he's a retired weatherman. He says, hey, I used to teach that guy in school, and he asked about his brother, right? Well, I got home the office. I think I just told him myself. I went to work, folks. I didn't go home. And I got a press release from
Right.
the Justice Department
Right.
that his brother had just been sentenced to 12 years
That's right.
for running with the cops with a gun. So it's a small world
That's
that
right.
his brother's dead and the other brother's running from the law. Well, the federal government doesn't issue mugshots with their press releases. So I called the Nash County Sheriff's Office and said, hey, I'd like to have the mugshot of so-and-so. And they sent it to me without any question. They didn't say, what do you need it for? Why do you need it? And the reason is because it's a public record.
That's right.
And so I was able, we did the story and showed, Mr. Ocean Avent going to federal prison for 12 years. We used his picture. That wouldn't be possible under this new thing. I probably wouldn't get the picture for 3 days.
Right.
By the time you go through all the paperwork and everything, and if you catch it, and then if the, like I said, 5 o'clock on a Friday is a nightmare scenario for that.
Well, there's been cases too that there's been like a rapist in the neighborhood and somebody gets arrested, then somebody comes forward because they see the mugshot and they're like, oh, that's the guy that approached me, and then it helps.
And also maybe that's not the guy that approached me, right? So I mean, it goes both ways.
That's right.
Mugshots also help people not to get bumped into the cruiser.
That's right.
On the way downtown,
That's
because
right.
they know the picture's going to be shown. Maybe they don't trip and fall as much.
Yeah.
Read into that what you will, folks. We a laugh from the back. That's when I get a laugh from the back, I'm happy. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know whether Sandra's going to come back for Unidentified or not. Well, maybe you'll hang out. I'd like to pick your brain on it if I can. We'll be right back, folks. I think I went over. I apologize, Brittany. We'll see you in a minute.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.